The story is about a 17-year-old girl who travels back in time to the start of World War II and 3 grisly local murders. Chapter 7. We were halfway through tea when the air raid siren sounded, and although this family had undoubtedly heard and reacted to this sound before, they knew instinctively this time it was different, although no one actually voiced it. As a high-pitch and low-pitch warbling note of the alert sirens rung in our ears, we froze for a second and then looked to Joseph for instruction. "Mary, get everyone into the shelter," Joseph said, jumping up from the table. I had been quiet all day, still trying to digest the fact that, unbelievable as it was, and defying logic on all levels, I was somehow stuck in 1940 with my family of the time and was now listening to my first air raid siren. "Here," Mary said, throwing some sort of clothing towards me as she ushered Anna and I quickly towards the back door. "Get it on quick as you can," she said, struggling to put something similar on herself, whilst passing a similar version to Anna, who didn't need telling twice. The outfits looked like an old-fashioned onesie. Mary told me later they were called siren suits. As we reached the door, I noticed gas masks hanging on the hook by the side of it. There were 3, each one in its own case, and on closer inspection I saw our names written on the side of the box. Mary scooped up all 3 along with 3 blankets she took from a shelf. Joseph appeared in the door. He wore a warm coat and Wellington boots. I noticed an armband with the initials ARP written on. He had a steel helmet with a white W painted in the middle in one hand, a gas mask in the other, and a concerned look on his face. He kissed his wife quickly on the cheek and disappeared through the door, stopping only to blow a kiss and a reassuring smile to his daughter. Joseph, I discovered, was an engineer by trade and was employed in the cotton mill where he regularly repaired equipment. His job was considered to be vital to the war effort, so was classed as a reserved occupation. But, needing to do his bit, he had joined the ARP, Air Raid Precautions. This, he said, made him feel involved in the war effort and less stressed about not being in active service. His duties were to protect civilians from danger in air raids and to patrol the streets during blackouts, ensuring no visible lights were showing. Joseph was gone like a phantom in the night, and now Mary, Anna and I stepped out into the black, bitter, cold air. "Where are we going?" I asked, as we held each other's hands and hurried blindly down the garden. "To the shelter, of course," came the reply. I presumed we had reached it when I tripped and banged my foot on something very hard. Step down," Mary shouted. I did as I was told and found myself inside what I can only describe as a giant arched sardine tin. I tried to peer through the darkness to see what my temporary accommodation looked like. I certainly knew what it smelt like, damp and musty. "Where's the door?" I asked. "There isn't one," Anna replied almost apologetically. Just then a searchlight hit the sky, so I was able to see my surroundings a little more clearly. It was sparse, to say the least. The only thing visible was a hard wooden bench on either side of the corrugated iron walls, with a small wooden cupboard in between that Mary had placed a flask on. "How long do we have to stay in here?" I asked, rubbing my hands together while trying to find some way to get comfortable on the extremely uncomfortable bench. "As long as it takes," Mary said, sounding a little irritated, maybe thinking I was complaining. "You'll know when the all clear sounds, but I have a feeling we'll be here for a while." She poured the tea from the flasks into 3 tin mugs and handed me one. I wrapped my hands around it to try and generate some heat. "What do we do now?" I asked, stamping my feet to keep the circulation flowing. "We could sing a song," Anna suggested. "That's a good idea, Anna," Mary said, tousling her daughter's hair. "I'll start us off." She began singing a silly song about a rabbit and a gun. Anna joined in halfway through, and Mary signalled for me to join in. "I don't know it," I said simply. What was she thinking? Why would you want to sing when your house could be blown up any minute, and indeed, us too if there was a direct hit? I was in the middle of mulling this over when I noticed a huge spider's web in the corner that had suddenly been lit by the searchlight. On closer inspection, I noticed there was a dead fly in the middle. What was a dead fly doing in a spider's web in the middle of December? I decided to zone out and study it in more detail. Why had the spider left the fly? Why had it not come back to devour it? Has something happened to the spider? Then maybe the fly had just given up, tired of struggling, and just resigned itself to its inevitable fate. The analogy struck me. We were like the fly, only our web was a giant sardine tin. Would the enemy come and devour us? Could we escape? Or would we be like the fly, defeated? I was suddenly back in the room and aware of the music that progressed from a rabbit and a gun to the rolling out of a barrel. I felt a little annoyed at Mary. How could a mother be so blasé in a crisis? Then I saw Anna's face. Her face beamed and laughing as Mary did a rolling movement with her arms, whilst at the same time pulling a weird face. And then I got it. It wasn't blasé at all. It was a very clever ploy to distract her daughter from the frightening events happening around her. I smiled at Anna as she in turn did a rolling movement with her arms and pulled a funny face. I turned my attention back to the searchlight. It was almost hypnotic and my eyes became heavy. I closed them and must have dozed off. I'm not sure for how long, but I was suddenly jolted back to consciousness by the noise of what sounded like rapid gunfire and thudding in the distance. The noise gradually increased. I stood up and walked to the arched doorway, stamping my feet on the way to try and alleviate the cramp I had in both feet. My eyes were focused now, and I peered into the darkness as the searchlight hit the blood-red sky. My stomach churned. Why was the sky so red? Then I could smell why. Fire. The air was thick with it. It burnt the back of my throat. Then for the first time I saw the silhouette of a bomber plane in the moonlight, high in the sky. The engine appeared to be on fire as it struggled to gain height. It started to lose height and disappear from view. A couple of minutes later there was a huge explosion. I felt sick as I shuffled back to my bench. The searchlight hit the shelter for a moment and I saw that Mary and Anna were both asleep, leaning against each other for support. I closed my eyes, but all I could see was a plane on fire. I felt ashamed. I did not even know it was a German plane or one of ours. But to be honest, although I knew there must have been inevitably many British casualties and indeed deaths that night, thank God I hadn't witnessed any of them. The plane I had seen with my own eyes, and the thought of the poor crew, whoever they were, being burnt alive, I knew would haunt me forever. My mind eventually gave way to tiredness, and I nodded off again. Mary, Anna and I jumped in unison as the all-clear siren sounded. I looked at my watch. It was 6:30 a.m. Mary gathered our belongings together, and we made our way back to the cottage. None of us spoke a word. Thank you.
Wow.